It's the final game of the series and we are headed north to a lovely part of the world. This is Headingley, Leeds, and we are heading up to really the centre of Yorkshire. It's a city that's a very vibrant young city. Lots of winding roads there in the heart of the city. You come down Kirkstall Lane, past a couple of malls, and there you are at this ground that has seen tremendous changes over the years. Headingley used to be a very small, quiet, traditional cricket ground, and now it's dominated by a hotel at one end and a gigantic new stand housing the media facilities at the other. That is the home of Yorkshire County Cricket Club, Headingley Leeds, home of the third and deciding one-day international. And here we are on Cricbuzz Live to talk about that and so much more. It was 1899 when Headingley played their first ever test match. It was between England and Australia, and a year later cricket moved to the Olympics, and that was of course at the Paris Olympics that England and France contested for the gold medal. Why am I talking about the Olympics in 1900? Well, because I had to find a logical way to get France into the discussion here on Cricbuzz Live before we talked about cricket. Privacy, welcome Joy, Gautam Bhimani and Zaheer Khan back from the World Cup. It's only fair to talk about France just for a moment. Gives me a chance to gloat, but I think it's worth it, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think, we before I left, I was saying, France is going to win. But when I reached there, I saw the excitement in the Croatian fans. I think, the support which they had, and they wanted the team to win the World Cup, first World Cup finals for them. It was just unbelievable. I think, the atmosphere was electrifying, and everyone were actually saying that, the better team lost in the finals.
Well, there you've got a supporter.
Oh, that's a
right
big
there.
Compliment, yeah. The better team lost the finals.
Ah, well done. He's in your side finally.
I got to take it in a positive stride.
Yes, Joy, you were saying?
I was just saying that in 1900, when that match happened, 90% of the French side was actually English people who were working in the British Embassy in Paris, and that's why they played. Similarly, 90% of this French side has also come from other different parts of the world, but it's fantastic. It's a great example of national integration and how they've got very, very different backgrounds and players to come together. It's fantastic.
Shows the development of African football worldwide, but we shall not go there. We are on Cricbuzz Live and there'll be plenty of talking points, especially at the very outset, the toss. We had the pundits in Headingley thinking win toss, bat first. Owen Morgan comes in, decides to field first. At Lords, everyone said you must field first. What does Morgan do? He bats first. Gentlemen, that's a bit of a strange one. And Virat Kohli, his reaction to the toss, he said the opposite in Lords. He said, yeah, we would have batted first.
Absolutely. I think, the last time it worked for England. So, they're hoping that, this time also it will work. But the strange thing is that the tosses, what we keep hearing in England is the wicket is on the dry side, looks like it will turn in the second innings, and that's something which is not normal, and that's been the highlight of the tour so far, that even though it's English conditions, there's not been mention of how damp the wicket is, or how much moisture is in the air and on the wicket, and how the swing is going to make it difficult for batsmen. So this is one of those strange tours so far.
But the reaction from Virat Kohli, he was so adamant at Lords that yes, we shouldn't even have come for the toss because it's obvious you needed to field first, and I didn't know anyone wanted to bat first. Here, reversal of roles.
Look, the only thing I can think of is that Virat must be thinking it's going to start gripping in the second innings. But normally if you see the trend, it doesn't change a lot in one-day cricket or in T20 cricket as well. It normally stays the same, wicket stays the same, unless and until what Morgan thought in the last game, whether it's going to start gripping more and his spinners might get more out of themselves in the second innings, and that could be the reason. But in this game he thinks that it's not going to change that much, and he's going to back his batters to do the job and try and chase it down, and they have a 100% record in chasing as well, so this again backing his batters to do the job.
Well, let's have a look at the changes, Joy, before I come to you, because that's going to be a talking point as well on both sides, of course. One, we were anticipating it from England's point of view, but for India, 3 changes. One was expected, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar walking in instead of Siddharth Kaul, but Virat Kohli mentioned tactical and changes in terms of letting other personnel have a go. That's Shardul Thakur, and he used the word tactical for Dinesh Karthik, for KL Rahul.
2 things out here. I mean, I would love to play, one-day match for India, but I won't be allowed to have a go at it. I mean, either you have the player is suitable. This is not a dead rubber, or India's not a 4-0. Having a go, I don't know, for some reason that sounds wrong to me. I mean, maybe he said it to instead of saying that Sid Call didn't have a very good match, but to say that I'm giving a bowler an opportunity because he hasn't had a chance as yet is not a good enough reason ever in my book to play. The second one about KL Rahul and how long they've persisted with him, it's about, I remember about 3 innings ago he was looking at like the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I'd be very interested in your opinions.
Two captains in the studio.
I think the numbers, number 4 matters. The Virat clearly wants to bat at number 3, and so should he be batting at number 3 because his record at number 3 is phenomenal. So management at some stage must have taken note of that. In the longer run, they would want Virat to bat at number 3. KL Rahul has been given enough opportunities at number 4. You've seen him bat at that number in Sri Lanka as well, and so far that number hasn't really worked for him. I feel that KL Rahul is someone who feels more comfortable when the ball is harder. It's coming onto the bat, and as a batsman, you need that kind of tuning. When you start your innings, and Gautam will probably be able to explain it better. You get that sound of the bat, or just the feel of the ball hitting the bat, or you playing a particular shot, and suddenly it gets you in that kind of mold. So that's something which KL Rahul has not been able to do it at number 4, because I think the game works differently at that stage, and that's something which he needs to adapt. And tactical is in the same manner. I think Dinesh Karthik has been used to batting at that number, so they're just thinking that maybe he's more equipped to deal with that kind of scenario in the game time.
Well, Gautam Gambhir was pushing for the inclusion of Dinesh Karthik, but not at Rahul's expense. We were thinking at Raina's expense.
Absolutely, and had I been in Virat's position, I would have made KL bat at 3, Virat at 4, and Dinesh Karthik at 5 or Dhoni at 5. I would have still backed KL Rahul to do the job. You can't end up chopping and changing his number. Okay, he's been given an opportunity at number 4. He's not delivered, but he's the player for the future, and you can't just make him sit out. Raina's played too many one-day cricket, too many one-day games. He's still not the permanent fixture in the one-day side. KL Rahul is someone who can win you games single-handedly. He's got that technique. He's got that ability to win you games. He's shown it in T20 cricket as well. If anything, Virat should have come at number 4 and had given KL Rahul a go at number 3. If KL can do that in T20 cricket, why not in one-day cricket as well?
Fully agree. And on the bowling changes, I'm going to get the fast bowler here in there. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar for Siddharth Kaul, that's fine. But Umesh Yadav sitting out for Shardul Thakur, and he says it's because I'm giving somebody else a go in a final.
I think they need to change how the batters also thinking. It's in a way adding a variety to what England has not been used to so far in the series. I felt that Shardul Thakur leading up to this ODI series has been playing regularly in ODI format, so he should have been given a go ahead of Siddharth Kaul for sure. That hasn't happened, but nonetheless, I am still a bit concerned about Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, because he's someone who's been missing matches for niggles. You are at that stage in just about a year away from the World Cup. You need your main bowler to be fine tuned. So if he wants a time away from the series and matches, if you want to rest him, you should give him enough break so that he comes back and plays that long haul, which is very important. I feel that this playing one match and then resting one match and then playing on and off doesn't really help you. You need to be in the rhythm, and that rhythm happens when you're playing consistently.
But Sanjay Bangar did mention that they are sort of looking after him for the test matches, but obviously looking at the importance of this game, they've said, okay, we're going to give him a go.
Absolutely, I don't mind at all looking at the importance of the game. You're saying it's a final, India needs to win it. Whatever rhythm he has is still good enough, and he'll probably be better than Siddharth Kaul. All that I understand. One is, I don't know whether Umesh Yadav has done enough to get dropped. Frankly, he looked the most penetrative of bowlers, at least at the start, and whether he's got enough. And B is that, absolutely, I agree with you. If he turned around and said Shardul Thakur gives us a different look and feel, and the English batsmen are not used to it, and maybe that's it, that's a very good reason for me, saying that, okay, let's try something different, let's shuffle the deck a bit. But to say that he hasn't got a chance to play is maybe he's not putting it the right way, that's all.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we were asking you the other day about having a difficult maybe post-match press conference or a post-match interview as a captain, but this is pre-match. you probably know what you're expected to be saying.
No, I think the only change I would have made is if they're looking after Bhuvneshwar Kumar, it is better to just not play him now and just play him throughout the test series. And we just mentioned that one day cricket is a completely different ball game. You got to be on the mark in all the 10 overs. In a test cricket, you can have a spell where you can just bowl 70-80% and then just wait for the next spell. In one day cricket, you can't afford to do that. If you're bowling at the death, if you can't be 100%, people are going to hurt you and hurt you really, really badly. Plus, you got to be absolutely excellent in the field as well. It is not like test cricket where you can just be there and then just relax a bit after your spell. So I think I would have played Umesh, because Umesh is someone who bowls 140. There's no one in this lineup who can bowl 140, 140 plus, because all the three bowlers are of pretty much similar pace. If you see Hardik, Shardul Thakur and Bhuvi, maybe Shardul might be a touch quicker than the rest of the two, but I would have still continued playing with Umesh and maybe given Shardul a go in place of Siddharth Kaul. But Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I would have looked at him for the entire test series, not now.
Yes, well, for the moment, the likes of Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Shardul Thakur, the spinners, they'll have to wait and watch. It's the Indian top three, the batters, who will be in focus. Owen Morgan, of course, winning the toss, asking India to bat first. Virat Kohli pretty happy with that. He would have wanted to bat first anyway. That's what he said at the toss. But the reliance on the top three has been a talking point throughout the series. And let's just have a look at these numbers. Top heavy, we're talking, since Champions Trophy 2017, that's the percentage of runs scored by numbers 1, 2 and 3. And there's a big gap, 54.46 to 67.61. That shows that your top three are doing a good job, certainly, but comparatively maybe 4, 5 and 6 have not been winning enough games for you.
Well, I think it kind of goes hand in hand, isn't it? It's so difficult to pinpoint when your top three are coming up with those kind of numbers. You know, your 4, 5, 6 will hardly get opportunity, and when they get opportunity, it will be one of those tough situations. So you can't really blame your 4, 5, 6 as well, because stats at times can be misleading, but you have to look at the stat in a positive manner. I mean, this, if you are consistently achieving this, you are going to get the results. And that's something which this team has been doing. So the success formula will always remain the same. For you to set that platform is so vital, and the team is doing consistently, is going to contribute towards team winning consistently. And when it comes to bowling, you have to pick up wickets up front. If you're not able to do that, you have to control the game. And in a ODI format, I think it's so important to take those wickets in the middle overs, which again this Indian team has been doing consistently. So these kind of numbers are actually a good number, because these numbers are actually stacking up the winning percentage and the consistency of the team.
Interesting point of view. I'm going to come to Gautam Gambhir, but for the moment I'm just going to relegate you to number 3 for the moment. Let's go center stage to someone who's at Headingley, because we asked him the exact same question. We're talking about this top 3 and the top heaviness. This is what we asked Harsha Bhogle.
I'm not sure it's a headache, but it's definitely a little irritant, maybe a little itch, the kind that irritates you, that's bothering you a little bit, but it's not preventing you from doing anything. I think it's at that stage yet, but India will have to find ways of ensuring that there's other batsmen winning them the game. Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan, Virat Kohli, I was just looking at some stats. Since 2015, in a run chase more than 150, India haven't won without a 50-plus contribution from the top 3. So that, as I said, that's a little itch and irritant, and my mind goes back to an earlier phase when India were playing some really good limited overs cricket. And who was winning matches then? Of course, there was Ganguly and there was Sehwag and there was Tendulkar, but there was Yuvraj, who was finishing games, whether he was batting at 4 or at 6. And a key component of a lot of run chases, India chased 15, 16 games, I think, around that time, was that Rahul Dravid was batting at 5. And he was anchoring run chases, scoring at maybe strike rate of 85, 90, occasionally nudging 100. Then there was Yuvraj on one side, Kaif on the other. So they were finishing games around then. In spite of the good contributions from the top, there were still very good contributions from 4, 5, 6, 7. And India have got to find a way of doing that. I don't think India are any closer to finding a number 4. Maybe they've decided it's going to be KL Rahul. It's very important that Rahul scores runs here. But yes, it is an irritant. India have got to ensure it doesn't become a rash.
Yeah, I'm not sure the irritation and the rash was anything other than the tan that he's been developing over these days. But In terms of that particular point of view, Zaheer had an interesting take on it, saying let's look at the positive side of that 67%. Where do you stand on this?
Look, if you see the top two sides, I think their numbers will surely be very similar as well. If you see the England side as well, I think their top three are pretty much right up there as well. And to be honest, not taking anything away from the top three. I think with the current rules and regulation, that once you're in after the 10 overs, it's pretty much easy for the top three to really cash in, and that is what Indian top three have done that as well. But if you see 5, 6 and 7, obviously it gets a little difficult as well. Like how Zach mentioned that obviously if the numbers are that high, it shows your ranking as well. And I'm nothing against the top three, but I think the easiest time to bat in one-day cricket at the moment is being in the top three, because especially with the new rules and regulations, once you see off the new ball after the first 10 overs, it gets really, really easy and you can really cash in. And I think Shikhar, Virat and Rohit has done exactly that.
Well, more than the top three, for England, since he mentioned it, it's the top two. They've really been having great opening stands.
No, absolutely. And I think for India also, this is a classic case of your greatest strength being your greatest weakness. Your greatest strength, 8 out of 10 games, your top 3 is delivering it for you. Now the 2 games that they are not, because you're in a situation where the rest don't have that batting practice, you can't do anything about it. You're still winning 8 games because of that top 3. So the point of it is, we are looking at this of over-reliance of top 3 after one match. Okay, if you had won the second match, you would have put up the same stats and you would have said, India's winning, reasons for success, the top 3 is firing. Today you're saying that's your weakness, you're doing it because you're saying what happens if they don't fire. But everything is like that. It's like saying that I have a great fast bowler who's always taking early wickets. So your big weakness then becomes what happens if he doesn't get wickets. So that's exactly your point. Yeah. Your greatest strength is your greatest weakness if it doesn't come off.
Double-edged sword, but what about the England side? Since we mentioned their top 2, there's already going to be a change in their top 2. It's been Roy and Best who have been doing it for them, but there's going to be a change when they come to chase in the final game of this limited overs summer. There you see it, right up there. James Vince from Hampshire is going to be replacing the very aggressive Jason Roy, and that's going to be, well, maybe a bit of a blow for England, because already there's no Alex Hales. Add Jason Roy out of the mix, and you're talking about James Vince, who's more perhaps in a Joe Root mold than in a Jason Roy mold.
Yeah. Also, as a Bengali, I'm really deeply disturbed that the only one Roy in the team they had to drop, so I'm very disturbed about that. But James Vince, if you look at his record, he's played 6 one-days for England, but he's, as a T20 player, he's done quite a bit for Hampshire, has had good form. But really, you're looking at a guy who's been phenomenal. Roy has been phenomenal for them, so anyone replacing him is going to be a bit of an ask.
Morgan was asked at the toss about playing. Even at the press conference, he said we're going to play this as a final. We don't get enough opportunities to play at this stage of a tournament. So he's treating this like a tournament final. But mentally, is there some ways you need to be cautious about that?
Look, mentally you try and replicate as much as you can come the big tournaments as well. And he might be thinking about the World Cup there. If the same situation arises, especially in the semi-finals, because the new format is such that it's going to be the semi-final and then the final as well. It's not going to be that the Super Sixes as well. So he's just trying to replicate the situation, and maybe that could be the talk in the dressing room as well, that let's try and think as if we're playing the semi-final of the World Cup against India. So let's see where we are at the moment as well, not technically, but how mentally, whether we are there mentally or not. Because ultimately, when it comes to crunch situations, it is not about technique. It is about how mentally strong do you stay in those pressure situations is what is going to make you a World Cup winner.
Yeah, and we've got so used to T20 tournaments allowing you that second chance. You finish in the top 2, and that format means that 1 plays 2, the winner goes straight to the final. You have to remember, in that World Cup, it's not going to happen. It's straight semi-final, so it's a proper knockout.
I think with that statement, what Owen Morgan is kind of giving emphasis on is so far in the tournament and on this tour, which is going to be a long tour, he's just somehow trying to motivate his team and just get them into that kind of mindset, where everything matters. And so far in the series, that's been lacking from England's team, and that's why you've seen this patchy performance. Like they've had second T20 international where they played brilliantly, won the match one-sided. But when there is an even game, that's where how your approach is and how your attitude, what you bring to the table matters, and that's where England has been lacking. So is Owen Morgan's way of just motivating the team, making them feel the importance of the occasion.
Well, what we bring to the table here on Cricbuzz Live, yes, to the red table, is an all-round point of view. We're here in the studio, but let's not forget our man, centre stage, Harsha, on this issue.
it's easy to say there must be relevance for every game, that every game must mean something, but it's not like that. I mean, you do history tests, right, at school. You can't say, I'm not too keen on doing this history test very well because it's got a sort of two marks in a total of 100 in my pass out. You still have to do that very well. And I think one of the great things about players is they've got to regard every occasion as something worth delivering their very best for. If you're searching for context, then you're looking for reasons to get excited. You're looking for reasons to get turned on. And I mean, I've not been an athlete at that level, but when I'm doing what I'm doing here, and I've got to find excitement in the fourth one-dayer out of a series of 7. So yes, context will be perfect. Wonderful context for this game because it's going to be a final. India won the T20 series. It'll be great if they can win the ODI series going into the test matches. But yes, if you can get context, that is great. But I think the great players find a way to feel excited about whatever the occasion.
Yes, fourth one-day in a series of 7. Well, if it's a series of 7 where it's 3-all, like it was in the past when India have played England in 2007, 3-all after the 5-6s of Dimitri Mascarenhas at the Oval, going to Lords, you always like it to be a finish like this. And here we are on the doorstep of 1-all, all to play for.
No, absolutely. I think it's great for the series, and it's both the matches, even the T20 series has been set up. And why it's particularly important is these two, let's face it, at this current situation are probably the favourites for the World Cup next year. Pakistan being the really dark horse. These are the three who look to be in the mix. Of course, there's this very interesting side who play in called Australia, who I believe might one day become a good one-day team.
Yes.
Maybe they
few people knocking on the door trying to get in who haven't had a chance to play enough. Get them back in the team. But yeah, it's again, we've talked a lot about that. Let's not think 12 months ahead, but even in the present, you like to live in the present. In the present, they're still the two top sides of the world.
Absolutely, I think, and the records shows that as well. I think the stats shows that as well, and the ranking from the ranking point of view as well. England is number 1, India is number 2, and no doubt about that. And they played some very consistent cricket, not only in 1 or 2 series over a period of very long time. So they deserve to be 1 and 2.
Well, I'm going to get predictions from all 3 gentlemen here, as we always do, for where we think we're going to be at the 50 over stage. But before we get those numbers in, there's a bit of a brain teaser. It's that time. Joy, take away the joy factor.
Okay, here goes. In the early 80s, who became the only test cricketer to win 3 consecutive Man of the Match awards? And it's not easy to win 3 consecutive Man of the awards in a test match immediately after resigning as captain. That means basically he was captain, didn't do well, captaincy didn't work out for him, resigned. Next 3 test matches he was the Man of the Match. Yep. And it obviously has some sort of a context with the date today.
Some sort of a context with today. Is it because of the players? Is it because of the ground? Well, we don't know. We leave it up to you. This is a tough one to find out. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live is how you get your answers to us. And of course, you can even give us your predictions. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. To the next question that I'm inevitably going to ask the panel, which is, where will India finish at the end of their 50 overs? Remember, Virat Kohli lost the toss, but again, like Lords, got to do what he preferred to do. In this case, India batting first. So maybe I'll put it as a 2-part question. Where would India like to be, and where do you think India will finish?
Oh, like that. So
I mean, of course, we like to be 500, but I mean, in terms of power for the ground. What's the score that England will be scared of? 340 plus?
Modern day cricket, you start the game with keeping 300 in mind, and you would want to be as less wicket downs as possible at 30 over mark, and then you look to double that kind of score. So you would want to be around 150, 160 around 30 over mark with just 2 wickets down maybe, and that sets the strong platform to get to 330, 340 kind of a target. But today I think 310, 315 will be what India should get.
All right, 315 is what we're giving you. Let's hand it over.
They would be thinking anything around 300 and 300 plus, and they would be very comfortable if they end up getting 300, because they've got 2 wrist spinners again and they're bowling second. So obviously think what Virat said, that he wanted to bowl first as well, bat first as well, so he must be thinking that's going to start helping the spinners later on. So they would be thinking anything around 300 will give them the target so that they can actually defend that.
All right, 315, 300.
I think that they'll get 315, 320 if they. I can't see their top order collapsing 3 times twice in a row.
All right, well, I'm the one who's got it horribly wrong every single time. So maybe one match, I only get football predictions right. So maybe one time in cricket I can get it right. So I'm going to go ahead of all these three gentlemen. 315, 300, 320. I'm going to go 330 for a change. Come on, India, let's put on the runs. 330, no matter where they get there, remember, it's a final. Runs on the board in a final, plus the wrist spinner factor could just be enough for India. We'll see you with much more on Cricbuzz Live.